Yo, collect and connect. Blake and Chad.
Chad.
And Blake.
Collect
and connect.
Blake and Chad's collect and connect.
Which one? English.
Frank goes Blake and Chad's.
This is
Blake and Chad's.
This is
Collect and connect.
About like who I would want to.
That's great. So do you do glass blowing then, or are you learning?
I really want to.
Oh, okay, that's
my,
cool.
Like my ideal
That's hard.
job, like a kid, like was the idea of like making marbles, like always seen. And then my mother took me to. They have a house in Cape Cod, my parents, and there's like a marble or a glass studio, and we sat through like a marble making thing, and I was like, this is fascinating. Like. What I would love to do now that I know how to cast is that I would love to learn like glass casting, because as much as I like resin, like at the end of the day, it's still liquid plastic. It's nice, but I feel like a lot of the pieces would be much more impactful and timeless, because I'm really big on how things age if it was glass. I'm also really big on like carbon footprints, and the fact that like every screw up I make is going to be here until the end of time, like also bothers me. I mean, like, it's a really good medium to learn things from. Like, look, so this I cast. This is I'm sure this is a very all over, but so I cast like
about those
quarter waters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I duplicated a quarter water, and then there's a process essentially like, remember those dinosaurs you put in water and they grow?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a process to which you put this material in this mold and you grow it, and it grows it identical, and then it grows it like.
What?
So like, but look, like every part of it, it doesn't like, look, my crown is on it. Like every part is identical. And I just think it's so fascinating. So you can't do this stuff with glass. It also, you can do reverse. You can do this to shrink it down, but you could grow it to the size of a Buick and it never any sort of
a Buick. You say a car.
Look at that.
That's dope. You got any of those for sale? I saw that the other day.
Those are awesome.
I used to drink those in New York all the time when I was a kid.
Here's another one. I did a lighter. Like one of the first things I cast was a lighter. So this is like 3 levels up. So it grows 118%. So there's one level between it. But like just learn, and I guess they used to do it for when they used to do like stage shows. So it's an old method. It's not like a new one. But the cool thing about it is like I can make stuff without having to get it 3D printed, because every time I try to get something 3D printed, I don't like how it turns out, because it's not as like I wanted this 3D printed and they just weren't getting it. No disrespect to them, but like I wanted the identical thing, so I literally can do it on my own.
Is it easier with that process you found better than like 3D? Is it faster, you mean? Like, can you do more?
I mean, the 3D printing, I don't do the 3D printing. So the problem is the middleman of getting it. Like I tried to have that done and I figured it was like a simple enough shape, and they were close, but like I kind of wanted it identical. Essentially, in hindsight, I wish I sent it somewhere to get it scanned and then redone. That would probably be quicker. This wasn't the quickest process. It was over, I mean, it had to be, to grow it that size has to be over a couple of months, because it's a whole process of growing, recasting, and then tweaking each mold in between. But again, it's a learning thing. Now, I don't want to make things that have this much resin again, because they get hot, like a whole thing. But now I'm glad that I know how to do it.
How heavy is that?
Heavy. Heavy. It's not even so much the weight, it's resin by volume heats up. So like a small amount of resin, like a resin at that volume will smoke. And again, my studio is downstairs. I have before I used to live downstairs. So my biggest concern was like, I'm doing all this stuff. If I have a gas mask on, like my dogs can't. So like I don't want to do things that's like killing everybody.
Yeah, it's coming up through the board and shit.
Yeah. So now we have both, so I can do it downstairs while he's upstairs, but it's still, that's a lot of resin. So I try to avoid that, that amount of it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, here, I have the skate decks. I can show you.
Oh,
So the
Oh,
cool
let's
thing, so these are cool because initially I drew this one and then the guy gave it to me. And then I realized, I was like, shit, I need the negative of that. So I said, let's do another one. So the cool thing about this is, so that's all the inlay. This is like essentially it's just like a spray painted board that then he goes in. I don't know if you can see that it's actually carved in. So that's the underside of the wood. And this is the same version, just of an outline of it. But again,
they're both cool.
They can be hung as a set, which is what I really like.
I'm gonna definitely get a pair. Those aren't sold out yet, are they?
They are the only ones left. I actually have one of these left.
Hold it for me. How can I get it?
It's on my site. I will hold it for you. It's literally the last one. It's on my site. I will hold that. But then, and then the other thing is then I bounce off of them. So then I did a knife and now I'm wearing a shirt. Like, so look, so I did this knife just to have something like to release in between everything. Like I like to kind of bounce around. And then from there, I had a guy silk screen it onto his shirt. So this will be like the next thing I release. But I kind of like to bounce off what I did prior and then swing back around. And, like I'm all over the place, but it's kind of together. Like there's
The mass mayhem is organized, right?
well, because I feel like it was such mayhem, and I had someone in the beginning tell me like, you have to make the same thing over and over. And there's artists that make the same thing over and over, and that works for them, but I just don't have that kind of attention span. So I think mine was kind of random, but now that I keep throwing things into like those various different buckets, now there's groups, you know what I mean? Like there's an anatomical heart category, there's a flower category, there's a nature category, there's like a New Yorkish category. So you can kind of, they're kind of connected.
You're growing your styles, right?
Getting there. I mean, that's the fun thing. Like, if something fails, I just move on. If something doesn't do well, I can just make something else. That's the cool thing about it.
So
That's very cool. And creating your own style of your own piece with each one too. So
Yeah.
definitely.
So that heart one with the arrow through it, when did you create that one?
That one I've drawn often, probably for a really long time. I've drawn the anatomical heart, probably because the regular one's a little too for me. So like I like the anatomical one. So that's shown up in my work often. And then the sculpture of it, I actually borrowed a piece from my doctor's office, and he was like, what? And like manipulated it and did all this other stuff, made it my own, cast it, returned him his piece, and then went from there. And then off of that, I ended up doing like a pin, a lot of collabs, other things. So that does show up a lot. Plus, I think it's a really beautiful rendition of it, and it's not so like cartoony and like that type of heart. And it's interesting that it strikes a chord in people differently. But I like that one a lot, and I'm sure that one will keep showing back up.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
definitely caught my eye.
Yeah,
I also like those.
that's one of my favorite pieces. The amount I like a piece usually is very short, and that one I haven't gotten sick of yet. I just did a hoodie with the heart on it, and I liked it a lot.
I like those slingshots too. Those are pretty cool.
The slingshot's cool. The slingshot is probably like one of my favorite pieces because I like to make pieces that I feel like represent me. Like I sample a lot of things, but the slingshot I feel like was like the nostalgicness of growing up and childhood, and then the combination of the resin and all that. So the slingshot is one of my favorite ones. I actually sold them. I don't have them here, but that is one of my favorite pieces because it's a branch that I cut from my park that I ended up casting, and underneath I like carved out a thing and put my logo in it and everything. That is, eventually I want to do that piece and outsource that into having it done in different materials.
Nice. Yeah, that slingshot, I saw you had a couple different styles in there, right? One with bullet casings in it and stuff too, right?
Well, that's the cool thing about like clear resin and casting is
Those are, man, I love that.
you can like, put things in it.
I
So
love that.
that's
I love that clear. I love that clear resin. It's awesome.
no, there's different things like that's like even the lighters, the lighter cases, all of it. Like that's the cool thing about casting stuff is then you can like fill it with other stuff and you can see like what sets, what looks cool. But yeah, there's a bullet one, there was a leaf one, there was a full flower one, there was a solid rose one. Yeah, those, but that's definitely going to come back. That I would love to do that. And I cast dynamite, like a real piece of dead dynamite. That one I want to make in, I mean, they can do like outsource it in aluminum and other things. So I want to say.
Do you have any outsourcing for your resin, or you do it personally? Like if you were to scale it like 20 or 30, make 30 of them. Do you have someone to make like 30 of them, or do you do all?
No.
You do them all yourself?
No, I just got like you saw the skate decks. I just actually had a knife done that was outsourced. I feel like this. I used to be like. Everything kind of changes once you learn it. So I used to be against outsourcing because I like the idea of making it myself. But now that I know how to make it myself, it also becomes a thing about time, right? So like,
Sure.
Because I do so many different things, like it's very difficult if I'm on like a mural run and I'm doing murals back to back. And because I'm so meticulous in how I make things, I want all of them to be perfect. So there is a benefit to outsourcing and mass producing something because it'll, if you can get it done right and not have to do all that stuff, then I am okay with it if I know how to do it. I've only been outsourcing things that I don't have, like those skate decks. I don't have access to whatever that machine is. I drew that rose, but I don't have access to what that machine is. But when it comes to resin, I mean, we'll see. I'm trying to do smaller amounts of resin. I still want to work in resin. Like I said, I'm sure that'll shift over into some different kind of medium. I also like mixing them, like mixing like concrete and resin and stuff. So I'm sure it'll evolve into something else, if I'm honest.